All right, we're going to be starting our masks today. So they need to be symmetrical. Remember, that's the same on both sides. We're talking mirror image for this one. So we want it to be the same thing on both sides, not like this necessarily. These kind of copy each other. We're not sliding it over, we're actually flipping it. So we're showing the reflection of one side to the other. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is fold my paper in half. So I'm folding it in half the long way because I want kind of a longer face. You could fold yours in half the short way if you want to. Then that means your face is rounder and maybe wider. This one is longer. Okay, so I'm only drawing on one half of the fold, but I'm bringing my lines to the fold. So what I need to do first is think about the shape that I want the mask to be in. Do I want it to be more rectangular? Do I want it to be like a shield? What kind of face do I want, or shape of a mask do I want? I'm only gonna draw half of that though. So I'm gonna start here and I'm gonna bring it up, and then I'm gonna come in, and then I'm gonna come out, and then I'm gonna go back in again. I'm gonna go up there. So I went for more of an unusual shape. This one, again, you could just keep it real simple. You could keep it just an oval. You decide. So now I have the shape here. Now I get to start thinking about where are my features gonna go. And features are things like eyes, nose, mouth, eyebrows, that sort of thing. So I'm gonna put my eyes in here. I'm gonna stick with just a simple circle for an eye. You can put in whatever you want. You decide. They could be triangle eyes. The nose is in the center of the face, so I have to think of what kind of nose do I want, and I'm only drawing half of it. So that's just half of the nose. Then I have the mouth. What kind of a mouth do I want? Just half of the mouth, and now I get to start drawing in some of the other fun things that my mask might have. If this is like an animal mask, I'm thinking about shapes too. So I want to make sure that whatever I'm drawing, I'm not just drawing lines necessarily. I can in some places, but I want to have as many shapes as possible because then it's easier for me to color things in. So there's that. I think I'm gonna go like this. All right, I might add some more things into this, but I think this is fine for now. So now what I'm gonna do is I wanna try to get these pencil marks to be on this side of the paper. How do I do that? I'm finding a marker. Doesn't matter the color, because really I'm not even gonna be opening my marker. I'm only using this to rub one half of it so that I get the pencils on this half. So this is how it works. It's almost like a little magic trick. If I take my paper and I fold it in half like I did in the beginning, and then I take this marker, again, it doesn't matter what color it is, and I use the cap or the bottom of it to kind of scrape my paper. What's happening is it pushes the pencil from this side of my paper onto this side of my paper. Watch. Now look, can you see it? Might be hard to see on the smartboard, but you can see how these lines are all of a sudden showing up on the other side. So I'm gonna continue doing that with my paper closed. I'm gonna rub over this entire half, and then my mask will show up on the other side of my paper. All right, so I actually have it pretty well. Some of the lines aren't completely filled in, but I'm close enough to it where I can fill in the gaps. So now I'm gonna take my pencil and I'm just gonna kind of fill in any of the gaps that I might need, or any of the lines that aren't showing up very well, and I'm just gonna fill them in so that it's easier for me when I'm using my Sharpie. All right, I think that's good enough. I can see it well enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and take a Sharpie and I'm going to start tracing all of my lines. Okay, now I'm done tracing. Get yourself a big eraser and let's erase any of our extra pencil lines. All right, so now we're going to start coloring our masks. We're using our colored pencils or crayons for this so that we can show more value. And remember, value is the element of art that shows the shading and makes things look a little bit more three-dimensional, a little bit more realistic. You might want to choose a limited palette so you don't have all of these colors to choose from. It gets a little bit overwhelming sometimes. You might want to pare it down to maybe 4 or 5 colors and leave it at that, or even fewer than that. So I think I'm going to stick with red and brown. I already have black with my Sharpie and I can add more in with a black crayon or so. And then I think I'm going to stick with some of the other warm colors, so oranges and yellows for right now. I can always grab more colors later if I think I need it, but for right now I'm just going to limit myself to just a few colors. All right, so let's get started. You're working on the shapes, you're coloring in the shapes, and of course the mask itself. Imagine that your mask maybe has been made out of wood, or it's been made out of metal, or it's cardboard, something light enough, of course, that a mask would probably be made out of. And I have to then put that in the background as well. If I decide, ooh, I need another shape, maybe I want something inside of here, whatever I draw in here, I have to repeat that same process where I fold it and I rub and then I get it to show up there as well so that it's not completely, it's not symmetrical anymore. I want to make sure that I'm not freehanding these things. I want them to be symmetrical with one another. Okay, so let's get started with coloring. All right, so you can see how I added in some of the value and some of the things. It's mostly brown, but I went in with the darker and I just pushed harder. That's all I did was push harder and got some of the areas to be a little bit shaded as though it was a rounded object. So I'm imagining this being kind of like a face where it kind of rounds. You know, this part comes out at me a little bit more and it rounds and goes away. There's other places where I can and might go back in and add a little bit more. You can go back in and add, embellish a little bit more too. I went around some of my lines and made them a little bit thicker so they stand out a little bit more. I filled in some of my areas. You can go ahead and you can add to yours as well. Really make it exciting and fun. After this, I think what we'll do is we're going to color the background. Okay, let's finish our mask by putting a color in around the background. So anything that's left over white that is not the mask, we can go ahead and we can start coloring that in. Just find one color or maybe two colors, and you can have a color transition in the background, but just one color is fine, and fill in the entire background for that color. Okay, there it is, all done.